Hey everyone, I'm Chelsea Butler with KBiz Magazine, and on today's From the Tap podcast, I am welcoming designer Richard Anuszkiewicz, also fondly known in our industry as Richard A to Z. Welcome, Richard, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Chelsea. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
So today we're going to discuss the art of exhibitor booth design and the difference between that and residential design and some of the challenges involved. So even as this podcast will most likely come out after KBiz, let's start out by just talking a little bit about the show in general. So that said, tell us about your first KBiz. How did you get involved?
Yeah, so my first KBiz actually would have been 2008 Chicago. And those were the years where KBiz was independent of iBiz show, right? So every other year, KBiz used to rotate at the Chicago Convention Center. And at the time, I was a sophomore in school. I was a design student at Virginia Tech. And that sophomore year, I started to get extremely involved as a student member of the NKBA. And so with that program at Virginia Tech, they're very involved in the overall national organization. And so there was an opportunity for students to attend the KBiz show that year. And so I very enthusiastically took in that journey to KBiz. And for me, Chelsea, I mean, truly that was an aha moment in my career or my journey, I would say. I was so overcome with, this positive feeling of being at the show, seeing all these tangibles, meeting people, shaking hands, seeing new products. It really was an inspirational trip for me. We also, as students, got to do a really unique tour where Chicago is in close proximity to Kohler, Wisconsin. And Kohler actually brought us out to their factory during that trip as well. So there was a few other facets of that trip that to me just really instilled this idea that I really wanted to become committed in this industry and involved in it. And I truly said at that show that one day I really hope that I could have a display or a kitchen showcase that would inspire others, because I know how much it inspired me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been out to Kohler once before. That was awesome.
Oh, I mean, to feel the heat of the cast iron and, just see that artisanal aspect of the product, it really helps you value it even more so and, appreciate a product.
So tell us how you got interested in designing exhibitor booths and how long you've been involved in that.
Yeah, so it's been several years now that I've been active in booth design. Again, it started as a dream back in 2008. And, I graduated formally in 2010 and kind of hit the ground running and very active in the industry. And I've just always been committed. So my first opportunity was a unique opportunity where it was actually a mini design competition for Perlick refrigeration. And they had a design competition powered by Modanus, where you could submit designs that would be showcased at the show. And so my first showcase was 2015 KBiz in Las Vegas. And it was a small, 6-foot bar vignette, and I titled it "The Cart Before the Horse." And it was a literal bar cart in front of a horse mural that was styled like a bar. And it had integrated refrigeration drawers and some really unique details, a antique mirrored wall, custom sink, leather countertop with belt inlays. It had a lot of really unique details to it. And I actually won an award for that design. So it's really interesting because my journey in this idea of exhibits has really grown very organically through time, because it was really the energy from that. Of course, I was further involved, and I had a unique opportunity to participate that year in the DXV, the luxury plumbing line by American Standard, their national ad campaign, where they commissioned me to design a kitchen for them. That was a part of their national ad campaign. And with that, they had decided to take those displays to KBiz. So that following year, we showcased the DXV kitchen that I titled The Concrete Jungle. It was really this mashup of old and new, and was this wonderful crossover of this Art Deco history inspired by New York City in the golden era. And that was true to the golden era products in the DXV line. So that was a really amazing opportunity to be a part of that whole campaign and have that showcase at the show. And then from that, I actually went to the trade show in Milan, Eurocucina, which I'm sure some people are familiar with. And at that show, I had always been connected to the Liebherr brand and just kind of friendly with some of their team, and connected with them over at that show. And they had seen what I did the last couple of years. They were launching a new product. So they approached me about designing a kitchen to launch their new refrigeration line. And so from that, it would have been 2018 was that show. And we, showcased the kitchen. Again, it got a lot of really great buzz. It was a really fun project. And then truly kind of very organically, again, through that time frame, I had been curating a relationship with the Monogram brand and doing a lot of different continuing education courses with them, and a lot of there was a relationship that was cultivating there. And so they were launching 2 new series, their Statement and Minimalist collection. So our first showcase with Monogram was in 2019 KBiz. And it was a 4,000 square foot booth design. So it was my largest ever. Every year they got bigger square footage wise, and you kind of had to top the last one. But it really solidified my relationship with them, and I could not be more grateful for that opportunity, because it's been really amazing how that's all grown through time. And we consecutively since have been working together, and this past year I was appointed their creative director as well, which was a huge opportunity. So the relationship keeps cultivating new opportunities, and we're having fun in the ideas of truly bringing inspirational vignettes to life at the show to inspire others.
Yeah, so I definitely remember that Perlick, that first one that you did. I was there for that. That was so fun to walk around and see all those little designs. And then, I guess it was a couple years ago, when the last time we were all live together, that we had that, you had that gathering in the Monogram booth, I think, right, at KBiz? That
Yes.
was awesome. That was
Thank
really
you.
pretty. Yeah. So outside of this, Richard, when we're finished, this is a podcast audio, but then we'll have a video component. So if you want to send, if you have photos that you're able to share from like Perlick and Monogram a couple years ago, we can jot those in. I just don't want to talk about it on air, because if they're listening in on the podcast, they're going to be like, wait, I can't see anything.
Right.
So,
No worries.
So how would you describe the difference of residential design and booth design? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, so for me, booth design is really an opportunity to be a lot more, what I'd say, kind of abstract and fundamentally futuristic in the approach. And that's something that I just is very true to, I think, my design sense, is I'm always trying to think about what's next and what's coming, and really just open people's minds. In residential design, we have certain parameters, of course, which we would call controls in design. So whether it be the actual restrictions of space, or some sort of construction detail or structural issue that we need to take into consideration, where in booth design, it's a lot more open-ended. So you can almost be a little bit more whimsical in those designs. And I truly call it the concept car. Something that I always related to when I was young. I used to love dragging my dad to auto shows, because I was really inspired by vehicle design. And, there would always be these amazing future cars concepts with different brands and things. And so I really used that inspiration kind of logic in my exhibit designs, right? Because it isn't meant to inspire, it's meant to open people's minds. And so that's always been my goal with every showcase. So it is, again, it's a lot more creative in the sense of a little bit open-ended. You can be a little bit more tongue-in-cheek. And I kind of love that, because again, it's intended to make you think.
So I'm guessing there's a pretty tight time frame in which you have to build. So have there been some challenges you've had to overcome, and how did you handle those?
Yeah, so that's always, I would say, one of the biggest challenges is, time, because they do only have 3 days to build the booth. So you can have the biggest dream of an idea, but it's then becomes a reality of how do you build it, right? And so we've been really fortunate through the years, just through my experience, to really curate a phenomenal team that helps us execute these designs. And, those people have kind of been vetted through time, have learned along the way of, what's worked, what's not worked, and what's been successful. And I'm really proud, again, of, being able to showcase these designs. I really stress the fact that it does come down to a team. Again, I can have the best designer idea, but if you don't have people to implement it and bring it to life, then it's not going to be successful, right? And so it's a lot of planning on the front end, and no matter how much you plan, it still comes down to those final days where always things go awry, and you kind of have to just punt and make quick design decisions. That's really what it comes down to. For me, every challenge is an opportunity to come up with a design concept. I had an art teacher actually who instilled that in me when I was in like 3rd grade. And I've always remembered that when I would be drawing something, and if I felt like I made a mistake, she would always say, that's, a new opportunity. And so that's always something that stuck with me. And I do practice that in my line of work, and specifically in trade shows, when you're under the pressure, you just have to come up with creative solutions. So we've had, things not shipped properly, obviously things getting damaged, countertops crack. I mean, you name it, we've dealt with it, and there's always a solution. I remember specifically in the Liebherr booth years ago, we actually had this neon sign, and it was a bar vignette, and the neon sign we had like custom made in this really cool font, and it said Prost, which in German means cheers. And I kind of loved that play on it, given their heritage of the brand. And I mean, we waited for that sign for months to be made and, manufactured. And within 2 seconds of them trying to hang it, it just shattered.
Oh my gosh.
So it's, the show opens the next day. It's like, how do we, reconcile this? And so it's that immediate just kind of hamster wheel of like, okay, like start making calls, see what we can do. And luckily, there was actually, that year was in Orlando, and there was a vendor in Orlando who like turned out a neon sign for us like super quick. And, those things are just realities. You have to just deal with them, try to solve it, and keep it moving. For me, it's like, it's a lot of pressure, but there's kind of an excitement behind it. Because I do really put a lot of pride into my work. And so be able to showcase that and share it with others, it's something that I take really seriously, and it's kind of energizing. So as much as it's stressful, there is, reward to it as well.
Yeah, that's a definite lucky break you had with that sign. That's awesome.
There's plenty of stories like that. I mean, we could have a podcast just telling you about the hurdles, but it's always it always works out. And that's where you kind of have to just keep a level head about it, and, have that kind of contingency plan in place and keep it moving.
So did you say you did design a booth for the upcoming KBiz show?
Yes. So launching here in 2022, we will officially be bringing to life Villa Monogram, which is the monogram appliance booth, but this year taking it to a whole nother heightened experience. Really something to connect with all of us in this context of, well, we've been all forced to stay at home and work from home, and you might have yearning for that trip or destination and for inspiration, right? And so I think I truly was at home during kind of the lockdown period, and it was just like, why can't your home be that oasis? Why can't it be that inspiration? So it really evolved into this organic story of bringing Villa Monogram to life and making it a destination and making it that really resort aspect and experience. And so we have Villa Monogram Mountain, we have Villa Monogram Beach, and Villa Monogram Farm. So it's 3 different environments, all under one roof. that really brings this resort inspiration, very inspired by the landscape. So I'm really proud of it. I mean, it's always, for me, it is art. It's a body of work. And, you just hope that it's well received. I think that's always a little bit nerve-wracking of will it, make an impact or land with people and resonate with them. But at the same time, I think I also always challenge myself. And so it's an authentic expression of where I am in my career and, an opportunity to showcase that.
So what have the days been like leading up to the show?
So it's a lot of fielding construction calls. I mean, again, we've kind of figured out through time, it's best to pre-fit things pre-show to try to head off any of those last minute issues that arise. So it's a lot of just, kind of fielding those calls of how certain parts come together or what might not be shaking out like we thought. Right now, this year, I think we all can relate to this idea of just the supply chain is not in our favor. So when you think about those last minute things, that's really a bit, is a huge challenge right now. So for example, just this week, we had ordered some wire mesh that was supposed to insert into the cabinets months ago. And unfortunately, we just got notice that it's another month delay. So it's going to miss the showtime window. And so it's just, plan B, again, figuring out that next opportunity of, okay, so that's not going to show up, but what can we do? So there is a lot of those pre-show. So it's a lot of pre-planning. We literally roadmap everything out. There is a parallel to residential design because we truly have blueprints that we build to, and it's all really detailed. So it's really just comes down to the execution.
So tell me how you're able to fit this booth design into your already really busy schedule.
Yeah, well, there's no question that, of course, in general, there's a juggling act, I think, in the nature of our line of work, because all projects are different. No matter what kind of linear process we hope to have, it's always there's always hurdles. So at the end of the day, it is still just a project, just like any other. For me, though, it is a real kind of passion or hobby almost. And something that, again, I have a lot of enjoyment doing. So, that's like my weekends and evenings and things, as anyone else would practice some sort of other, maybe extracurricular or hobby. For me, it's kind of this exhibitor space and being able to do that. It's fun. We work with a lot of great people. It's kind of lighthearted in the sense of, while of course it naturally can be stressful, you don't have almost an end client, if you will. Clients have big expectations, and with this, you kind of get to create your client, right, and dream up this space. And so for me, as kind of from that artist lens, it really it's more fun in that regard because, again, I'm kind of inventing the client and thinking about who would maybe live in this space or whatnot. So there's kind of this dreamer aspect to it that keeps me really motivated. And, again, I kind of see it as that extracurricular, if you will, in my, my overall schedule.
That makes sense. Something you really love to do, so you make the time for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So outside of the booth itself, are there other factors that you have to keep in mind?
Well, certainly, there's space restrictions. There's a lot of general protocol of show, regulations. And those are all things that one would learn more through time. The best thing I could relate to is in, residential design, we have building codes and restrictions, and the same thing applies when it comes down to booths. So, for example, this year, which I'm kind of giving you a little bit of a preview, I had this big idea of an integrated fireplace into the booth. And so, of course, naturally, with the idea of a live fire, that came with, some nuancing and understanding, the regulations and kind of restrictions to that. So you'll have to come and check it out to see how we accomplished it.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So what happens to the booth materials after the show?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we really try to put a huge effort into repurposing the displays. So for Monogram, every display is designed in the intent that it lives, it has a life post-show. So whether that certain displays travel, there's a lot of local like group shows and kind of buyer and distribution shows that smaller vignettes go to. On the converse side, also there's showrooms, and we put a large investment into showroom displays across the country in sense of appliance stores. So some of those get repurposed, but it's always the intent to reuse. As you can imagine, with the idea of a quick build and a quick tear down, unfortunately, certain things are a little more susceptible to damage, but the group, really does their due diligence to repurpose and, recycle.
All right, that's awesome. So you talked about, all those years ago winning the competition with Perlick. Tell us about some of the other awards and recognitions that you've won through your booth design.
Yeah. Well, I feel really fortunate or grateful to even have had these opportunities, because again, I thought about them for a really long time. I mean, truly being that student and just like walking around the show, and then to think, now it's like, man, it's, dreams coming true. And so through the years, obviously I've gotten recognized for the design aspects of all the different vignettes and displays through time. But most notably in the more recent, in 2019, we won Best Large Booth, recognized by KBiz. And then in 2020, we were Best in Show overall, which, are really big milestones for me, and something that I feel, again, just really thankful that it was well received, because it is truly a labor of love. There's a lot of time and ideas and energy invested into those. I mean, the nights going up to it, I mean, that weekend, you're around the clock staging this thing, setting it up. I mean, they're all-nighters, literally. I mean, it's always, you're 8 p.m. at the night before. If the show opens the next morning at 9, but the staff and has to get there earlier. And so like, you really have only those like morning hours, and it very easily can be 3, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. finishing that setup to then for the show. And, what's kind of interesting or people don't realize, like, they just walk into the show and it's, a great show and they're experiencing it, but they have no idea like the chaos behind the scenes. I mean, the show has a beauty to it, of course, and an inspiration, but just hours before, it's chaos. And until that like main aisle carpet goes down, it just looks like a completely different space. It's truly a construction zone.
Yeah, I've been privy to that, been able to walk around the shows ahead of time, and it's like a little bit of a hazard in there.
It is. I mean, yeah, there's forklifts and people moving and huge crates and boxes everywhere, right? I mean, it's concrete floors, and it's even things like that I've been really fortunate to work again with the same team through the years. And we laugh, like, in our first years being like really naive to just like standing on concrete floors for how many days straight or whatever. Yeah. Up, and like, the natural wear that can take on, your physical. So those are things that we've learned, like the right shoes and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think people it's a learning experience with the whole shoes thing. Like, they don't want to do it. They want to wear your really nice, uncomfortable shoes. And then by day 2, you've got like your sneakers on or something, something's got to give.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the part that's a little bit hard. But like we were talking before you know it, the show's over. And it's incredible how much is put into that. I feel bad for the people who have to like break down the booths and do all that stuff too when the party's all over, so to speak.
Totally.
Yeah, it is amazing.
bittersweet. I mean, it's a huge rush of energy. I mean, to your point, it's like we're already exhausted by like opening day, and then you actually have the physical show,
Right.
because there's a lot of like times that, again, I mean, I can think about like NKBA Design Awards, for example, are the night before historically, right? So it's like, I mean, we're setting up that booth, I run home, throw on a suit, go, participate in that for a short period of time, and then boom, like run back, change into gym clothes to get back on the floor and, stage and set up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, again, it's a lot of effort, but when you have good people around you, it makes it fun. And that's been the most important thing that I've been super appreciative for Monogram and the team, and a lot of just kind of friends and colleagues along the way who have been supportive and participate. I've garnered a lot of vendor partners as well through time that have kind of stuck with me in these displays and always show up, right? So I've been super, appreciative for those people that have participated and, and supported the efforts.
That's great. That's awesome that you have so much support. And I will end with this, that I just think you're truly an inspiration to be able to do all this stuff and do it all so well. That's really impressive. So,
well, that sincerely means a lot. And it, I mean, again, this is a dream, to coming true. And so I really encourage any like younger people in the NKBA, whether they're in 30 and 30 program or a student that's involved. I mean, I always say, get out there, shake hands, meet people, and, don't be afraid to ask, and don't be afraid to just get involved, because I would not, be here or have had these opportunities if it wasn't for people around me who believed in me or saw a spark or some sort of passion. And so I don't take that lightly, and it's something that, again, I'm really thankful for. So I appreciate that.
Be sure to subscribe to KBB's YouTube channel and click the like button on our videos. You can also subscribe to the From the Tap podcasts on such apps as Apple, Spotify, Pandora, and Google Podcasts. And please feel free to leave a review.